the jibber jabber. Don't be babbling like a fool. Say what you got to say. That's all. Then shut your dang pie hole.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. We've got something to talk about today. States versus the feds. We've been looking for a way out of this mess. States fighting back. Is that our answer? Well, what's causing this fight? We're seeing it with New York. That's right. New York and New York City not happy about all the illegals. Well, New York really isn't going to fight back, are they? They're just going to bitch and complain. And there's so much money laundered through New York and Wall Street. Well, can you look to a state like Tennessee to solve our problems? No, too small. We need a big state, a powerful state, a wealthy state. And no, not California. How about Texas? Texas is a state, folks. It's powerful, wealthy, it's energy rich, it's got strong, independent people, it's got all kinds of problems of its own, and it is a candidate. We as individuals are not having any luck getting Washington cleaned up, are we? No, no, and no. Now, we'll talk more about people and Trump and being pissed off later today. But for now, we're going to talk about states. And one of the things that can help us get into this fight of using philosophical bullets, folks. It's an argument. It's a mental exercise. I'm not calling for violence here, okay? But Texas probably has the largest border. In fact, they do, period, with Mexico. And that's the route that most of the illegals, or I'll say a huge number of the illegals, are coming through. Because nobody knows for sure exactly how many, because they're illegal. Texas has had enough. And they passed their own state law making illegal immigration a violation of state law. So here we have it. State law and federal law. Oh, it's illegal to enter America. In both cases, except the federal government is not enforcing the law. In fact, they're encouraging people to violate the law. As such, Mayorkas and the president should be impeached for it. That alone, allowing an invasion of our country by the enemy. And we know who I'm talking about. Not the harmless little vegetable workers. They're not illegal in the sense that they're here as our enemy. But all the terrorists are. Now, let us continue. Texas has done something. It's costing them billions of dollars to deal with these people. And states don't have the same money that the federal government has. States can't print money out of thin air the way Washington, D.C. can. So it has direct impact. And the states can't afford it. That's why New York is bitching, even though they're extremely wealthy, because they can't print money the way the feds can. Funny. Follow the money, right? Seems to make sense every time. Well, Texas says we can't afford this, so we're going to enforce the law, our own law. So we look at the southern border, and there's a nasty article on it at Eagle Pass. There are thousands of people just massed on the border, and they're all being processed. In other words, you're just being fed into the system. It's probably easier to get across the fucking border than it is to get into a theme park like Disneyland, where you have to go through, tickets and processing and metal detectors and body scanners and groping stations for children, because, Disney. Anyways, Texas has laws. Is this the way to fight the feds? So if a Texas Border Patrol is standing next to a federal Border Patrol, and the federal Border Patrol says, yeah, come on into America, come on in. Just step through that hole in the fence, you're fine, it's cool. Here's a sandwich from Joe Biden. And the and the Texas Border Patrol officer is standing there and arrests the person, the illegal, the criminal that has invaded our country without permission. Can the federal officer stop the state officer? See, this is where the question I have about overlapping jurisdictions comes in. You see, we haven't dealt with this shit before. You see, if there's a criminal coming out of a bank, having robbed the bank, if a state law enforcement officer is standing there, he'll arrest him. But if there's a Fed with him, he'll say, hey, this guy's committed multiple offenses in many states and robbed banks. We'll take over from here. Right? The state guy says, you go right ahead, fuckstick. You prosecute him. You deal with him under federal law and federal courts, etc. Right? Well, if the federal officer isn't going to do jack shit, the state officer has a duty and will do his job. But can the Fed stop him and say, you're not allowed to arrest that illegal immigrant, that criminal, right? This is federal jurisdiction. We own the border. And Texas law enforcement can look at him and say, you own the border, dickhead, but 1 foot in, I think I'll take control. And that's Texas. And the federal officer says, no. The federal government has jurisdiction from the border 100 miles in. And they do, folks. They make that claim. That they own 100 miles in and can patrol it under bullshit federal law. And so does Texas have a right, or do they lose all jurisdiction and authority for 100 miles from the border? And the same with the ocean. They also claim from the ocean, since that's a border, they have 100 miles in. And from the Canadian border, and good God, what a road. What fucking state am I in? Jiminy Crickets, Mississippi. Fuck. Let's try that again. Right, so they think they own everything, the feds. 100 miles in. Well, yeah, 100 miles in, you can try and enforce your laws. Go ahead. If they're federal laws and it's border patrol you're concerned about. But see, that's not what it's about. This is about letting the country be invaded. So, if the federal government and its agents say, you let them alone, and the state guy says, sorry, you cannot give immunity to illegal acts in a state that has state laws. No more than the federal government can say, it's fine to rob banks. And in a state, the bank robber gets arrested by a state enforcement agency. He's right. He's like, yeah, maybe it's okay to rob banks with the feds. You guys don't have a law to stop that. But we do, and you're not going to stop us from protecting our state and our people and our businesses and our lives and our economy. You see what I'm saying? This is the jurisdictional issue flipped on its head. The feds cannot mandate a state to allow illegal activity to occur. And a state is independent of the government, the federal government, in that and so far as to control itself. Take a look at the Constitution, the 10th Amendment. It's right there. It's very clear. And states are individual countries. They are just united under an umbrella government, a federal government that is supposed to seek unity and equal protection for all states. So what do we have? We have the federal government seeking unity, well, just for its own mandate, and protection for itself and its agenda that is counterproductive, counterintuitive, shall we say, protective. That's where we're at, folks. The feds want to give up on their fucking duty? Fine. States have now learned they need to protect themselves. States need to protect themselves. And the feds don't want to bear the burden of cost. Well, the cost of letting illegals in is far more expensive than the cost to keep them out. And if the federal government doesn't want to do its job, then the state of Texas should tell the federal government to fuck off. You won't do your job according to the U.S. Constitution, we're out. Period. You can't say I'm going to do part of my job. You see, states, they have an expectation and a duty to perform. You don't have a choice through the government. You don't get to choose, right? That's the idea. It's like when you accept a job, you're working for Home Depot, and Home Depot says you're going to go over there and sweep the floor in the lumber section. And you're going to tell Home Depot, no, I don't do that. Oh, okay, then you can go over there and you can clean the bathrooms. No, I don't do that. Well, what do you do, Mr. Employee? You tell me. Well, I'm going to stand here and I'm going to dust the power tool section. We already have too many people dusting the power tool section. You're going to go over there and you're going to stack boxes of nails. No, I don't want to do that. See, this is what the federal government is saying is, no, I don't want to do that. And they're also saying, you can't make me. Oh, okay, I see. Well, Home Depot says you're fucking fired. Texas needs to tell that to the federal government, along with every other state. If they're not going to do their job, they should be sued. And if they refuse to do their job, once they read them the fucking law, aka Riot Act, then you leave the union. Dereliction of duty, intentionally and discriminatorily harming the states. Hasta la vista, baby. And for you, my friends, chance favors the prepared mind.